Hey guys, so let's talk about parameterized data pages. Okay, now what is parameterized data page? It's just data page accepting parameters. So why is this so special? Low versions of PRPC, we didn't have this parameters concept in data pages or declare pages. It was something new that came up in Pega 7. So that's why it's special for us. Okay. Now, what is the advantage of having parameters in a data page? What did we struggle in the earlier versions of Pega when it was not accepting parameters? So let's take a small example. Suppose I would like to write a query, something like this. Select star from a table called as states, where country is equal to, I have to pass the value at runtime. It should be dynamic. Okay. Now, as you know, like the user has to provide the country. So based on the country the user has provided, you should get the states. Or you should, now what I have to do is, as it has to be dynamic, the query would be like this. User entered value is usually stored on py workpage, right? So I would say something like this. Py workpage dot country. Now, is this reusable? Yes, it is. To a certain extent, it is reusable. But the problem is that you hard coded the page name. That's the problem. Not all the time this query is triggered from a context of py workpage. Assume that sometimes the country will be present on a different page called as temp, and sometimes it's on a different page called as temp data, and sometimes it is like test. So certain times the pages vary and the data comes from a different context. In that case, is this reusable? No, it's not, right? It's not reusable. Then what you have to do? You have to again rewrite another SQL where you can, for different pages. So in order to avoid that rewriting the same query for different page contexts, what we have to do is we have to use the concept of parameters. So what happens with parameters is you're just going to dynamically pass the value using param. So it's very similar to a function accepting parameters. It's like this: param1, param2, param3, and so on. Just like how a function accepts parameters. So in this param1, param2, param3, you can pass text, you can pass integer, you can pass decimal, you can pass anything. Inside that we have some logic to do some calculation or some concatenation, and you get some output, right? So this is accepting anything, and you can call it from anywhere. You can call it from py workpage, from test, from temp, wherever it is. You just call it, you push the inputs, and that's it. It's going to work as expected. Same thing, you want to do it in data pages. Suppose I have a data page. Which is going to call a activity, okay, to fetch states. Now this activity is going to call an obj method or a RDB method, okay, and in this obj or RDB method, in the where clause, I don't want to use hard-coded page names. I want to use parameters. So param dot country. Then this makes things much flexible and reusable, because now I can call this from any context. Let it be in py workpage or test or temp or whatever context it is, this is going to work. That's the major advantage of parameterized data pages. And the other big advantage is, suppose if the first user has selected India, on the clipboard a page will be created for India. Now after some time a person came and he triggered for US, you will find a page on the clipboard for US. Now do you think India page is removed? No. It will store the instance of India, instance of US, and after some time somebody has selected UK, every single parameterized data page instance is stored on the clipboard. It's not going to remove it. So first India was stored, then somebody else came and said US. Now India is not replaced or removed with US. Okay, India will stay there. Then you add US, then you add UK, and so on and on. Now, what is the advantage of that? After some time, now another person has selected India. Then you are not going to hit the DB, you're just going to reuse the page which is already lying on the clipboard. Again, somebody has come for US, you're going to reuse it. UK, you're going to reuse it. So this way you can reuse it, because every single instance which was triggered or connected till then will be stored on the clipboard, and when somebody else tries to query with the same parameters, we just reuse them. Okay, that's the best part. The main thing is like you can call it from any context, and instances of it are stored, like multiple instances of it for every parameter is stored, and you just avoid multiple DB hits. Okay, I think you can see the difference, like between the previous activity which I have written and this one. In the previous activity, if you write for states the same way like I have done for countries, you have to hit the DB every time the country changes. So you have to do like every time the country changes, you have to hit DB and get the data. Okay, like initially the person has chosen India, you hit the DB, get it for India. Then again he hits US, you hit the DB and you get it data. Again India, again you hit the DB. But if you use parameterized data pages, once India instance of this data page is stored, you're not going to hit the DB for India again. Okay, so that's the best part. Now let's create one data page with parameter and let's see how it works. Before that, make sure you create a table like this. So I have a table something like this, with country and states populated. Now I am going to create a data page like this. Okay, you can just create a data page like this. Structure list. Why list? Because you're going to populate a drop down with a list of states, not a single state, right? So it's a list. Now the class, which class properties you're going to use to hold the data, whatever class it is, and then node or request or thread, whatever you want. You can't go with node, as I told you we have issues with the refresh strategy. So you can choose requester, and then activity. As it is a list, your activity should and must be created in code Pega list class. So just give get states by country here, click on this, new role form will open, give the name, click on create and open. Then now, before that, before we move with the steps in the activity, the whole concept is all about parameterized data pages, right? So first declare the parameter here. So this is the query. Select star from states where country is equal to some value, right? Something which we're going to give it runtime. Okay, so declare a parameter for country. So I declared a param country here. It's of type string and it's input. Now, whoever is calling this data page have to give me country. They have to pass country value. Okay. Now, data page is triggering activity, which means that activity should also consume this parameter. So in the activity, the first thing I'm going to do is declare a parameter. Now, both the parameters name need not be same. Okay, you can give anything you wish to. I just gave the same thing, but you can give anything. So I declared parameters in both the rules. The next part is this is how it's going, right? So data page triggers activity, and from the data page you have to pass parameter to the activity, and activity is going to use it in query to fetch data. Okay, so where is this connection passing parameter? Let's pass it. So when you mention the activity here, just save it. Make sure you save this, then come back. You will see something like this. So this is the parameter the activity is expecting from you. You can pass like this, param.country. This is the parameter which data page is holding, and this is the parameter which activity is requesting. It's asking, please give me parameter country. And this is the one that you're passing. Okay, param is a keyword to pass to interact with parameters. Now, if both the spellings and the case sensitivity is same, you can just say pass current parameter page. No need to explicitly give like this. You can just say pass current parameter page. Okay, so now you have data page with parameter, activity with parameter, data page to activity the parameter is passing. What is left? Just use it in the query to fetch the data. Okay, let me use it in the query. Now, if you're using the obj method, like if you're using any obj methods like obj open, browse, any obj method, you can use the parameter here. You can just write down like this here, param dot country. You can just write down the query, but this table which I'm using right now is not a blob table. Okay, it's an RDB table. It's not mapped to any class. So I can't go with obj method. So no to this. Then the only option left over is RDB methods. Okay, hold on step 1, I'll tell you. Now let's talk about step 2. So I wrote an RDB method, RDB list. Why list? Because I'm fetching multiple rows of data. Okay, now let's write down a query for this. I have written a query. Let me open and show you. Okay, let's check in the App Explorer. So how do you create a SQL? Just right click on the class, create integration connectors, connect SQL. So you can create with this name get state, package PG SQL, and the class name is this one. You can just fill these details in the new role form. Okay, get states, class name, package PG SQL, and click on create and open. Now let me show what I have created. This one. Make sure you're writing the query under browse because you're using list. Okay. Now this is my query. Select state as dot state. Okay. See, this is not mandatory to do like this. Like you could have even written select just like this. Select state from data dot states where country is equal to. Okay. You can even do this. I'll tell you why I have done that. Now look at this, where country is equal to. I want to pass the parameter param dot country which you received from the database to the activity. But if you look at this rule, this connect SQL rule does not have a tab for parameters, which means that it cannot accept parameters. It cannot work with parameters. So no to params. Then what should I do? Just pass it like a property when you don't have a parameter. Okay. So that is the reason I added step 1 here. Okay. In step 1, I'm doing property set. I just created a page temp and I'm using a OTB property py label. I just don't want to create a property simply for this query. Just don't want to waste memory. So I'm using the OTB property py label. Okay, just scroll down and click on more. When you click on more, you will find it. And this is the parameter which you received. Parameter should always be referred with the keyword param.country. So this is the parameter. Copy the parameter onto temp.py label and then in the query you can use it like this, temp.py label. Okay. And why did I put this as dot state like this? Sometimes the DB column names and the property names are different. Suppose your DB column name is okay, let's say for example states. My property name is just state. They both are different, right? So in that case, what we do is as in quotes dot state. So this is required if and only if your DB column names and your property names are different. Otherwise, it's usually not required. Just wanted you to tell like this way also you can do. Okay, so you can do it this way. Select state as dot state from this table where country is equal to the parameter which is copied into this one. Now, how about the step page? You forgot about the step page? So make sure you give this page name as a step page because the output is supposed to be on this, right? So make sure you give the step page. If you don't give the step page, the data will be copied to some primary page. Okay. So that's it, and make sure you declare the page in pages and classes like this. Okay. So d underscore states data page with a simple parameter country, and then you created an activity and you're passing the parameter to it. Activity is also accepting a parameter, and then we define the pages. Then you wanted to copy the parameter into a temporary variable. Then you wanted to use it in the SQL query to fetch the data. Now it's turn to use it in the UI to populate the dropdown. Let me go to the section. Just open the dropdown. Okay. Now this is the property to store the final state which the user has selected, and this is the place where you load your drop down. Okay. We have selected data page out of the options available, and this is my data page, and it's turned to pass the parameter, right? So this is how it is. From the UI, you have to pass the parameter country to the data page. The data page is going to carry this parameter and give it to the activity. Activity is going to use it in the query. Okay, so whoever triggers this data page has to pass the parameter. If it is from the UI, you pass it from the UI. If it's from a different activity or from a different rule, any other rule, data transform or some other place, just pass the parameter. Wherever it is, just pass the parameter. As I am triggering it from the UI, I have to pass the parameter. So the user selected value country is stored on a property country. I'm just passing it. So this one, the first drop down, okay? It's going to this data page, and then you're just populating states. Okay, you can also put a placeholder. Placeholder is like you just want to say select dot 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 in the beginning of the drop down. You just want to put something like this. Submit. Save your changes. Now I have a case already open. Let me just refresh it. Okay, this is how the placeholders work. Select dot dot dot. Now I have selected India. Let's see whether the states of India are populated. Yes, it is. Let me switch it to US. It is. Okay. This is how parameters data pages work if it is triggered from the UI. Now the way that we trigger it from an activity is little different. Okay. In the next video, I'll show you how can you trigger it from an activity and some good real-time scenarios like where you can use this parameterized data pages.